It was a quiet town, wrapped in the gentle silence of desert winds, where days passed slowly and nights were filled with the soft glow of stars. In this town stood an old mosque, modest, white-walled, and surrounded by dusty olive trees. About the town was particularly extraordinary, except for a small mystery that had slowly become legend over the years. Every Thursday night, just after the Maghrib prayer, a cat would appear at the mosque gate. Not just any cat. This one had eyes that glowed like amber in the dark, and fur as pure white as a cloud under moonlight. No one knew where she came from. No one knew where she went. She never begged for food. She never disturbed anyone. She would just walk gracefully inside the mosque courtyard, sit quietly at the corner near the last row, and then disappear before Fajr. The elders of the town would often murmur tales to their grandchildren. She is a blessed creature, they'd say. Maybe she's a guardian, or maybe she's waiting. Imran, the mosque's young caretaker, was a simple man. He had grown up hearing about the cat, but now that he had returned to the town to take care of the mosque after his father's death, he had started to notice her more closely. Every Thursday, without fail, she would arrive. Same time, same manner, same stillness, and then vanish. No one could ever catch her leaving. One Thursday night, he was locking up after Isha. He noticed her sitting still, staring at the closed prayer area. Her gaze was fixed. Not like an animal watching prey, but like a soul waiting for someone. He whispered, "Are you looking for someone, little one?" The cat turned her head slightly but didn't respond. The silence between them was thick, almost sacred. The next morning, Imran spoke with Haji Usman, the town's oldest man. "Haji Sahib, who is this cat? She doesn't eat, she doesn't sleep, but every Thursday, she's here." The old man's eyes narrowed. "You've seen her closely?" "Yes, I have. Every week?" Haji Usman sighed. "It's been over 40 years now. She used to come when your father was alive too. He once told me before he passed that the cat arrived the week your grandfather died. And since then, she never stopped coming. Always on Thursday. Always." Alone, a chill crept down Imran's spine. What could she be waiting for? "Only Allah knows," said Haji Sahib. "But there's a story. Not everyone believes it, but I think you deserve to hear it." He leaned closer and lowered his voice. "There was once a little girl who lived just outside this town by the old sycamore trees. She had a white cat looked just like this. They were inseparable. But something tragic happened. The girl was brought to this mosque once, wrapped in a white sheet. Her cat sat outside the door all night, waiting, and every Thursday since, the cat comes back." Imran's breath caught. "And the girl? She died in an accident. No one could find the cat for days. Then she came here." That night, Imran stayed back after the lights went out. He placed a small bowl of milk near the mihrab. The cat didn't drink. She just sat near the wall, her gaze distant, unblinking, as if she was seeing something no one else could see. He whispered softly, "What are you searching for?" For a moment, he thought he heard a sound soft, almost like a child's voice giggling faintly in the wind. But when he turned, the cat was gone. The following Thursday, he made up his mind. He would follow her no matter where she went. He kept the gate slightly open. After Isha, she entered. After midnight, she stood, stretched, and began to walk. Away from the mosque toward the olive grove, Dadi Mra, and holding his breath, followed quietly. The path she took was strange, not the usual road, but an old trail covered in dried leaves and long-forgotten footprints. They walked for half an hour until they reached a small graveyard, abandoned and hidden in the trees. She stopped at a small, unmarked grave, sat beside it, closed her eyes, and wept. Imran froze. Her cries were soft, heart-wrenching, and so human. It felt like grief from another world. He stepped closer, knelt beside her. He touched the soil. It was warm. A flower bloomed nearby. She looked at him, and in that moment, Imran didn't see a cat. He saw love, eternal, undying love, in a memory so deep it had survived even time itself. When he returned to the mosque, his heart was heavy but clear. He had witnessed something pure, something beyond comprehension, and yet it was only the beginning. The morning sunlight spread across the town in soft pinks and oranges, but Imran's heart felt strangely heavy. What he had seen the night before was no illusion. The grief in that cat's eyes, the sorrowful stillness she held beside the old gravit, couldn't be just a coincidence. It felt like something deeper, something sacred. After the Fajr prayer, Imran remained in the mosque courtyard, where the cat usually sat. Though she was gone, he felt her presence, as if she was still there watching, waiting from some unseen realm. Later that day, he went to the old town records, hoping to find something, anything about the graveyard. He spent hours flipping through dusty registers, until one name kept appearing again and again. Amina, a young girl who had died in a tragic accident along with her mother many decades ago. She had no close family. Their burial was simple, done quietly, and placed in that now-forgotten graveyard near the old sycamore trees. But at the bottom of one faded report, a handwritten note caught his eye, brought to the mosque before burial. A small white cat sat outside, refused to move till she was taken away. Imran's breath hitched. That cat, it had to be her. The same one that appeared every Thursday, always silent, always alone. That night something stirred in Imran. He went to the graveyard again, holding a small lantern, and sat near the grave he had seen the cat visit. He recited Surah Yazan softly. The air was still. The flame flickered gently. There was a purity in that moment, as if time itself had paused. Just as he finished his recitation, the white cat appeared. She quietly walked up to the grave, sat down at the head, and closed her eyes. Imran, moved by something he couldn't name, whispered, "Is it you, Amina's cat?" She didn't move. But suddenly, a soft breeze carried a fragrance like blooming flowers in spring. Single-folded paper fluttered down at Imran's feet. He picked it up. It was an old, faded note, written by a child's hand. "Dear Snowy, if anything ever happens to me, don't be scared. Come to the mosque. That's where I'll be waiting. Every Thursday night. Maybe Allah will hear our promise there." His eyes stung with tears. Snowy, that was her name. And the cat had kept her promise. Every Thursday night, for all these years. She had come, because she believed, because she remembered. Because the bond between them was stronger than time, stronger even than death. The next Thursday, Imran did something he had never done before. He told the people of the mosque the full story about Amina, about Snowy, and about a promise made between a girl and her beloved cat. They listened in silence. Some wiped tears, others looked around, trying to grasp the truth. And that night the cat didn't stay. After the prayer ended, she walked slowly to the mosque gate, turned her head toward Imran, and then vanished into the dark. Imran knew. Her soul had found peace, but the story didn't end there. A week later, he placed a small plaque at the mosque entrance. On it was a sketch of the white cat and a simple message. She came every Thursday night, not for food, but for faith. Memory of loyalty and love that even death could not break. And months later, one quiet Thursday evening, a tiny white kitten appeared at the gate. Small, quiet, with eyes like morning sunlight. She looked around curiously, then stepped inside. Imran knelt down and opened the door wide. "Welcome home, Snow." The little white kitten stayed. She didn't arrive and vanish like the older cat. She came on a Thursday evening, just before Maghrib, sat quietly by the mosque gate, and when the prayer ended, she was still there waiting, almost like she belonged. Imran gently picked her up and held her in his arms. Her fur was warm, her heart beat steady, but her eyes, they carried a strange weight, as if she had seen more than a creature her size should ever have to see. The worshippers began to notice. The older men smiled as they left their prayers, bending down to pet the kitten. Children named her Snowy, just like the elders remembered. And though Imran never confirmed it, something deep inside him knew this wasn't just a coincidence. Snowy, too, as they affectionately began to call her, started staying in the mosque. She never ran wild. She never disrupted prayer. She had a quiet dignity about her, almost reverent, as though she understood the sanctity of the space. During Juma, she would sit by the wall. During Isha, she would curl near the mimbar. During the midnight tahajjud, she would watch from a shadowed corner, her eyes softly glowing. But even more strange was what started to happen after her arrival. One night a boy came to the mosque. He was new in town, a teenager with anger in his walk and pain in his eyes. Imran watched as the boy sat at the back, silent, withdrawn. But Snowy slowly padded across the carpet, climbed into the boy's lap, and laid there as though she belonged. The boy's eyes watered. He didn't push her away. He sat there quietly, and after a long time he whispered, "I had a cat. She died. She was all I had." Imran didn't interrupt. He let the moment pass like a breath. And when the boy finally stood to leave, he turned and asked softly, "Can I come back tomorrow?" Imran nodded. From that day, more people started coming, not because of sermons, not because of flyers or calls, but because of her. A kitten who would sit beside the grieving, curl up near the sick, gently nudge the lonely. And somehow, after a while, they felt lighter. Healed. One woman, a widow, visited the mosque for the first time in years. She told Imran, "I stopped believing there was mercy left for me. But when that cat sat in my lap, it was like someone was telling me I wasn't forgotten." Snowy became part of the mosque's rhythm. But Imran noticed one thing: she would still disappear every Thursday night. Just like the first Snowy, right after Isha, she'd walk out through the back door and not return until fair. This time, Imran didn't follow. He knew some things were meant to remain unknown. All he could do was trust that her journey still held meaning. Just like before, but something unusual happened during Ramadan. On the 23rd night, the mosque was filled. It was a beautiful, quiet night. The imam was reciting softly, and people were lost in prayer. That's when the lights flickered just one sand, then steadied. Everyone ignored it, thinking it was just a voltage shift. But Imran saw her. Snowy was not alone. In the far corner of the mosque, near the wall, stood a faint outline of another cattler, larger, majestic. It stood beside the kitten for a brief moment, just enough for Imran to see, and the shape faded into nothingness. Snowy looked up at him, not with fear, but with peace. He whispered to himself, "She's still watching." The next morning, he returned to the graveyard. He brought fresh flowers and a small wooden marker engraved with a simple phrase, "You were never just a cat. You were a prayer in fur, a promise kept." The townspeople soon began sharing their own stories. One man claimed the cat had visited him when his wife was in the hospital, and that same night she recovered. A boy said he dreamed of his lost sister and found peace after Snowy sat at his bedside. Of course, not everyone believed in signs or miracles. Some brushed it off as emotional imagination. But those who had sat in silence with Snowy knew this wasn't just a cat. It was something else, something sent, something left behind. And even Imran, grounded in his faith, began to wonder. Could love, once offered purely, echo through time? Could it return in new forms, finding those in need of healing? He never found all the answers, but one Thursday night, as he stood by the mosque door, watching the kitten walk out under the moonlight, he whispered a prayer he had never said before. "Ya Allah, let her find what she's looking for." In the stillness of the wind, he felt as if someone had whispered back, "She already had." Years passed like the wind sweeping across an open field, soft, unnoticed, and inevitable. The mosque remained the heart of the small town, beating gently with the rhythm of prayer, footsteps, and breath. And within its walls, the legend of the cat who came on Thursday nights had become more than a tale. It had become memory, history, almost sacred. Snowy, the little white cat, grew older. Her once boundless energy softened into quiet dignity. She still walked the rows of worshippers, still sat beside crying children, still followed the caretaker during his late-night rounds, like a silent shadow. But more than anything, she still left every Thursday night, and came back before the first light touched the sky. Imran, now older too, watched her with the kind of love one saves only for those who never asked for anything, yet gave everything. He no longer tried to explain her, no longer searched for signs or meanings. He had realized some truths were meant to be felt, not solved. But something began to shift. It started with dreams. People in the town, young and old, began having the same dream on Thursday nights, always the same. A white cat walking through an empty field under a full moon. At her side, a little girl, her steps in sync, neither speaking, just walking towards a glowing light far beyond the horizon. In every dream, just before the cat disappeared into the light, she would turn back and look into the dreamer's eyes, and the dreamer would wake, cup in tears. Amina's name began to return in whispered conversations. People began visiting the forgotten graveyard more often. Flowers appeared at the unmarked grave. Children left drawings. Women sat quietly and read prayers. Something had been stirred in the town's soul. A memory long buried was alive again through. Snowy. One day, a visitor arrived. An old woman from a nearby village. She walked slowly, aided by a cane. I asked for the caretaker, and when Imran came out to greet her, her eyes filled with tears. I came, she said, her voice trembling, because I used to know the little girl. Amina, she was my niece. Imran stood in silence. She loved that cat more than anything. Snowy used to sleep on her chest every night. And the night she died, the cat howled so loud. They say even the stars turned their heads. The woman looked at Imran, her eyes shining. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The cat who kept coming. The promise that never broke. Snowy was sitting nearby, watching. The woman knelt, slowly, painfully, and reached out her hand. Snowy walked forward, pressed her forehead against her palm, and let out the softest purr. The woman cried she remembers. That night, something changed. After Isha, Snowy did not walk out immediately. She lingered. She walked the entire mosque, quietly. She sat beside each regular visitor. She brushed past the prayer rugs. And finally she walked to the gate and looked back one last time. Imran stood there, watching. She blinked slowly, then stepped into the darkness. But this time, she did not return. The next morning, Imran waited at the gate. Fajr passed. The sun rose. The mosque echoed with silence. Snowy was gone. Days turned into weeks. The children waited for her. The worshippers searched the streets. Imran combed the olive groves. But there was no sign of her. Only one thing remained. On the grave where the first Snowy had once wept there, now lay two small paw prints in the earth. Fresh, side by side, as if two cats had stood there, together in the night. And in between them, a flower had grown, a white tulip, out of season. Imran sat beside it, tears falling quietly. He whispered, was she finally called home? The wind moved softly through the trees. That night, the first time in years, the mosque door opened on its own, just after Moghrab. The scent of flowers drifted in. No one entered. No cat, no sound. Just presence, and the people knew she was gone, but never lost. Snowy had fulfilled her promise. Amina had kept her word, and love pure. Selfless love had crossed the boundary between this world and the next. Not with grand miracles, not with noise or light, but through small footsteps, warm fur, and silent Thursday nights. Imran placed a final plaque outside the mosque wall. Beneath the first one, it read, some come to pray, some come to heal. She came to wait until the one she loved no longer had to be alone. And so the mosque remained, white, walled, quiet, eternal. And every Thursday night, if you listen very carefully, you might still hear the faint sound of paws on stone, and a distant purr carried gently on the wind. Not everything that is lost is gone. Some promises live forever.